97.5, the Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Best show ever here on 97.5, the Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia. 610-632-0975 is the number to participate. We're going to have a lively day today, and that is now promised after what happened right before the show. So let's get right to our opening statements. We start with the word of the day. And the word of the day today is confidence. Confidence. Now it has extra meaning. We'll start with the Eagles. Later on, we'll get to the other meaning of why the word of the day today is confidence. It's because we've been talking about the vibes around the city here as we're out and about. All of us different ages, we don't live in the same towns, but we end up getting this consensus around the area. Tom Alvord in for Jen Scorder, who's under the weather, Ricky Bowe, Hunter. You know, everybody has this different, usually lately, we've had the same kind of feel. And what we're feeling is the city right now, a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence around the city. More confidence this Thursday than there was last Thursday going into the Giants game. And we're not saying that's a bad thing. We individually were confident, but we didn't get a lot of confidence back. There were a lot of people who, for whatever reason, doesn't really matter now because the Eagles handled business 38-7, that were not really confident last week. Fast forward 7 days later after the Eagles take care of business against the Giants, tons of confidence on Thursday because Thursday's the day where we start to really look towards the game. And unfortunately, there's no time machines because we would love to be Sunday 3 o'clock right now, but we can't do that, obviously. But the city, all of a sudden, has its swagger back. It has its confidence back. This is the most confident bunch this city has been since I can remember. During the previous Super Bowl run, because of the Nick Foles factor, it's easy after the fact for people to go, I always believed in Nick Foles. You didn't. Not everybody didn't. After the Atlanta game, there was fear going into that Vikings game. And then after the Vikings game, there was fear of Tom Brady. Not that the Eagles fans were being fatalist and saying they had no shot, but they couldn't really puff the chest all the way out because it was Nick Foles and he didn't play well against Atlanta, so you didn't know. You didn't have it all the way. This time, this city is as confident as any time I can remember when a week ago, they weren't really that confident. And I'm just trying to find out why. I don't mind it. I love the confidence. I'm not one. There's people that do things like, oh, well, you got to stay humble because then if you lose, I don't care. I've never worried about that. Playing sports, talking about sports, living life, I've never worried about that. If I talk trash to a person, well, they were going to get that 30-point night that day anyway. I might as well have fun doing it. And if I get in their head, even better. So I'm not one of those people, but this city is now suddenly they got a ton of confidence. And I think that's great because the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL. They just are. And I believe it. We've believed it for a long time, and they showed it again last week. And I think it's going to show up this week again against the 49ers. Does it mean it's going to be as easy a game as the Giants game? Because the Giants weren't good. 49ers are good. The Giants weren't good. That was part of why we were so confident. We were like, why are people worried about the Giants? Like, I'd rather play, I don't know, Pensacola High. Like, might give them a tougher game than the Giants. I didn't believe in the Giants. 49ers are a good team, but it's not really about what the 49ers would do or the Chiefs would do or the Bengals would do. I have confidence in my team. And suddenly around the city, there's a lot of people making the Super Bowl plans now. When last week, they weren't prepared making plans for this week. Last week it was, I don't know, Daniel Jones, I don't know. The Eagles haven't looked good. There was a lot of things that were holding fans back a week ago. This week, though, it's pedal to the metal, Super Bowl parties, Super Bowl planning, trip planning. I found out that I'm going to have to try to sell my non-refundable first-class seat out to Arizona, which is unfortunate. I really did. That wasn't a bit. I really did that. So I'm going to find out if you're allowed to sell an airline ticket. It was only one, so you had to go fly by yourself, but we'll work on that. First class to Arizona, non-refundable, and now I can't use it, but then we'll get to that also later on today. But a lot of confidence around the city, Hunter.
As there should be. And you're also probably going to be adding back Avonte Maddox, which it seems. And I didn't expect it here. If they got to the Super Bowl, I probably would have felt better about it, but it would be insane. You can have him and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson back into his original spot with your two DBs that you know are phenomenal and the pass rush that got 70 sacks. So my question becomes, and I know it's a broken record, where does Purdy go with the football? Because every area is going to be covered. He doesn't throw the ball on the outside. He doesn't have that killer instinct as the quarterback. This is going to be fantastic from a defensive standpoint. I feel that confident in the defense going to abuse this football team. Now, why was it the way it was against the Giants compared to now? I think some fans probably got fooled by the word momentum and afraid that there was a lack thereof, at the end of that season. But you got to remember that in this league, there's so many times where a team looks a certain way in week 6 and then looks different in week 7. They look different in week 8 and then week 15 is a completely different beast. You know, based off the entire season, what this team is capable of doing. I want to know from the ones out there, if the Eagles beat the Giants 21-20, would you feel the same exact way? Would you be entering this week with that same exact fire, or would you be nervous? Well, they escaped. I'm going to look back at 2017 against the Falcons. It was not a team, the Eagles team, that just steamrolled the Atlanta Falcons, but they sure did look fantastic the next 2 weeks. I think there was too much obsession with how it looked at the end without taking a deep breath and realizing that Lane Johnson wasn't where he's at right now. The quarterback situation was all over the place, and that last week Jalen Hurts just got back. So you need to give him some time to rest the shoulder, give him some time to get back out there and get a feel. Ultimately, I'm flying high thinking about what this team can do, but I think that had something to do with it. They got obsessed with how it looked late without realizing when everybody got healthy what they're capable of really doing.
The defensive line. I'm going to start there. These guys could get in on any quarterback, any offensive backfield in the league. That's where it starts for me. Hassan Reddick, yeah, he's going to be all over Brock Purdy. You ask what Brock Purdy's going to be doing, he's going to be swallowing footballs on Sunday. There's no doubt in my mind on that side of the ball. You look at everything right now. You look at quarterback play. Who do you favor? I favor Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's going to, I'm telling you, rude awakening. Debo Samuel went on and said, oh, well, basically their stadium is the loudest. No, pal. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, and you just made it 10 times worse when you come in on Sunday. And this crowd is going to be behind the Eagles. There's no doubt about that, and I think that's going to play with the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, absolutely. You look at the running backs. Okay, they have some pretty good running backs. Agree? Yeah, well, guess what? Both of them are injured right now, or at least somewhat injured. You look at the Eagles' backfield, who went wild against the Giants. I think that's another win for the Eagles. And you go as far as the wide receivers. Okay, Debo Samuel's a good wide receiver. Ayuk, he's a good wide receiver. But then you put up Smith and you put up Brown. Oh, I take the Eagles. Everything I'm saying right now, including the head coaches. The matchup of the head coaches is probably the closest one there. I still like what Sirianni has done for this team, and he's got a little bit more incentive to play for now that he didn't get elected as a finalist as a coach of the year. I look at this whole thing as a bit of a mismatch. I think we looked at it in the last game against the Giants. I think we looked at it as a bit of a mismatch, and I don't think any of us were nervous here. I think we're in that same type of boat right now. And I think it stems and it looks and it focuses on the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the game as the show goes, but we're going to talk about the fans to start. Why are the fans so confident this week versus last week? What is giving this fan base this surge of confidence that they didn't have? I am truly fascinated. Now, for me, I unfortunately, I do think, to your original point, Hunter, that it was the way it looked against the Giants. My issue with that is you shouldn't have to beat a team 38-7 to have confidence. Whether you win by 1 or 100, you just win and move on. The Eagles are a really good team, and if you've watched the team all year, and Eagles fans have, it was peculiar that, how Philadelphia does. No, I don't. I know how previous Philadelphia teams did when they weren't that good. I know how the good teams do, and you know what the good teams do? They win. And you know what the bad teams do? They lose. If you look back at the Buddy Ryan teams, they didn't have enough offensive weapons to go with that good defense. That's why they lost, not because of a Philadelphia curse. So where
it still comes down to the belief in your roster, doesn't it?
should
I think everything comes down to the belief in your roster. Maybe last week they didn't have that belief.
But
Maybe, and the reason why I'm saying that is because what a fan sees is those last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Wasn't perfect, but it wasn't perfect. That was a problem.
And that I love that you just said that, Ricky, because last night the Sixers, and it ties together here, in the fourth quarter, the Sixers lose the lead a little bit. All the fans are like, oh, Doc, here we go again. They expect the game to have zero flaws. There's going to be runs made in basketball, and at the end, the Sixers made the run. They won the game. With the Eagles, I think fans obsess over the way it looks. It needs to look a certain way. Well, if you go through the 49ers schedule or if you go through the Kansas City Chiefs schedule, there's going to be a game where they won by 1. Kansas City and Pat Mahomes don't blow out every team by 20. And they're still a phenomenal, fantastic team that consistently make the AFC Championship game. So they want it to look like a perfect brand of football where you got to realize there'll be a 3 and out. There'll be some drives that are uncomfortable, but you're going to make more plays than you don't. And that's why they're in this position that they're in. But it seems like people lose that sight of the game.
Very well could be.
Consistently being somewhere, you brought that up. Remember that. Because the fans of the Chiefs and us watching the Chiefs know that they're going to get there. Or they're going to be close to the Super Bowl every single year. That's where this Eagles organization and fan base has to get to.
Well, I mean, to me, this is going to be the second Super Bowl in 5 years.
Beautiful.
610-632-0975. We'll give you some insight on what's going on behind the scenes today and a lot of stuff because there's some very confident people around this city, some of which work in this building. And we'll get into all of it here on 97.5 The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia. We're just trying to find out where the confidence came from. We're great with the confidence. Like, you imagine everybody went to school. There was a kid who was kind of like a noodle. And then once in a blue moon, that guy would end up having a bunch of courage at some point. Usually, that was because of a girl. All of a sudden, he's in there all chesty all of a sudden. What gave Eagles fans last week, who were meek and weak, super strength in a week? What was it just as simple as the game or the Giants game? What gave the confidence that they just didn't have last week?
Probably Jalen Hurts. Probably watching him throw the football that way, even though it wasn't a dominant throwing the football type of performance, but just the cool, calm, and collective Jalen Hurts that we've seen when he was healthy prior to the shoulder injury, I would imagine is why people feel this strong about it. I don't know. It's hard to relate because we kind of knew that this is what this team could do. All three of us, and even Jen when she was in here, and I'm sure you, Tom, felt like this team was special, and they were great, and there was no reason to have nerves heading into a team that was led by Daniel Jones. So I don't know why they felt this way, but I have to imagine the most important position, the quarterback, being one of the most prioritized things they were looking at during that game.
I think it's just the offensive ass kicking that they gave the Giants. I really do. I think the score says everything about it. If that score was 38-35, fans would not be confident this week. That score was a blowout. And they understood that, and they watched the game, and they understood the blowout from the beginning. And when that happens, you think your team is everywhere, everything. And I think right now that's the way the fans are looking at this, that, hey, we are the best team in this league, and this is not going to be a problem going into championship week.
But I don't know why that irritates me, because even if they did win 24-20, I would still feel that way today because I watched them play all year long.
Because it was effortless. I mean, you watched the game as well as I did. It was an effortless win for the Eagles. It was a no-sweat win for the Eagles. When you have that, I think it's a confidence boost for the fans. I'm in the same boat you guys. I'm not speaking for myself. I thought this team was good a long time ago, and I'll say by week 3, 4, I thought this team was going to be the team to beat, especially in the NFC. And now I think they're the team to beat in the NFL. So, I mean, it didn't change the way I look at this. I still think, you know what? When I look at this team right now, they have everything, including intangibles on their side and coaching staff. And, I mean, we got on Gannon early on in the season. I've kind of changed my tune in that direction also. So, I mean, a lot of things have changed for me during the season, but one thing has kind of stayed steady, that this team is very, very good. And going into this week, I feel no different.
Tyree in the Northeast talking about the coach. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, Tyree.
What's going on, fellas? And to add on to something that Hunter said earlier, he was talking about the Chiefs. There was one game this year, right, where you know how they talk about, like, oh, the Eagles haven't played anybody and all that. The Chiefs lost to the Colts. And I remember that game because I bet the Chiefs, and I was like, how did they lose them? Sometimes it's any given Sunday. You never know. However, when it comes to this NFC Championship game, You were saying about the confidence where it came from. I never lost confidence. After the Colts game when the Eagles played, there were boxes. There's things that I look at that a team has to be able to do in order to win a Super Bowl. You got to put a 4-game win streak. They did that earlier in the season. And my biggest thing was that Colts game. And I was like, up until that game, I said, I got to see them down 10 points in the fourth quarter. And I want to see what they can do. If you have it and you can come back from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter, you're a good team and you can win a Super Bowl no matter who you select. They did it that game. As ugly as it was, I didn't like it. It was an ugly win, but an ugly win is better than a pretty loss. So I took it in stride. But I've felt like this the whole season. When people talk to me, I wouldn't even talk to nobody last week about the Giants. And they would start talking about, oh, they could keep it close. I would just look at them and go, the Eagles are winning this by at least 13 or 14 points. People were looking at me like, you're out of your mind. I had it on my ticket. The only thing that didn't come through on my ticket was A.J. Brown for it any time. But I told people last week, I was like, they're going to route them because they don't have the horses. You sit down and think about how the game can go. Like this game can go, it can be way closer. So I understand that how when people are like, oh, the Niners aren't the Giants. I get that. I get that 100%. But then I keep going back to Brock Purdy never playing on the East Coast in his entire football career and having to come to the link with 70,000 people just screaming and going nuts. And then with this defense, not only that, it's the trenches for me with the Eagles. Can you really bully us in the trenches? Nobody in the NFL can bully us on both sides of the ball.
No, they can't, Tyree. Thanks for the call. The Eagles are good. That's well established. He never lost confidence or breath. 610-632-0975. DJ, you be first on the other side. We'll get to our Twitter poll. Once again, Jalen Hurts we'll give everybody, if you didn't see it on social media, what he's listening to get ready for the game, because we're going to listen to it as well here on 97.5 The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Before we get back to the phones, now we can get to the Twitter poll with Tom Alvord.
Yes. So today's Twitter poll on 97.5 The Fanatic on Twitter at 975 The Fanatic. It's also pinned, as it wasn't yesterday. Why do you believe a majority of Philadelphia is so confident going into this game against the 49ers? You have four options. Right now in the lead, home field advantage at 43%. Brock Purdy's inexperience at 40%. Eagles dominance versus the Giants at 16%. And then 49ers injuries at just 1%.
All right. For me, all along, it was home field for me. In addition to the roster, but not having to travel, to me, makes a big difference over the long haul. And when you play one less game and don't have to travel, I think you're at a tremendous advantage.
The tone of Deebo Samuel saying the remarks he said about the link, it wasn't anything egregious, but right. I just don't understand why you don't focus on how intense it's going to be. I feel like a lot of this isn't just physical preparation for a big game, but it's the mental preparation. And if you downplay it, we saw a lot of teams do this during the World Series run too. It is a difference maker. Stop acting like it's not. And I don't expect them to go up there and go, I'm scared to play in Philadelphia, but I think there's got to be a level where you're respected enough to know that it's going to make a severe difference.
And there are really three stadiums in the league that have proof of this type of loudness. Kansas City is one of them. Yep. We all know that Arrowhead is very loud. Seattle has always had that 12th man thing. And Philadelphia, I think, would be third on this list. Maybe Detroit, if they could ever get into a playoff situation.
Oh, yeah, it would be loud
because
in that
dome. Place has that low roof. Oh, man, that would be really loud. But to say that it's no different than your home field, I mean, you're out of your mind. You have to be out of your mind.
San Francisco. No disrespect. Nice city, culture, whatever you might think. Rabid football fans? Not compared. First of all, the West Coast can never be. Seattle's loud, for sure. But California West Coast, that's too California casual. California casual does not equal rabid. All right? You can't be a rabid
It's like SoFi's never going to be the loudest place.
No, it can't be. It's California casual. Like, just like Miami, you'll never have a great thing in Miami because now in hindsight, how the weather's been weird. It's all windy today and stuff like that. I couldn't imagine if getting ready to go to the Sixers game and the weather's perfect outside in the winter. I might be a late arriver, too.
I mean, it's not as perfect as it's going to be for an Eagles game on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, think about just going out there and it's going to be close to 50 degrees. The fans are going to be, ecstatic for that.
Not at kickoff.
Why? What are they saying at kickoff now?
At kickoff, they were saying it's going to be a little windier.
Oh, it's turning a little windier.
Yeah, so it won't feel like 50. It's still not going to be 20.
No, it's going to be a nice day.
I don't like the San Fran. I wish it was going to be colder for them, though.
Same. I want them to go into an environment that's 4 degrees, 5 degrees, something that they're not used to.
I was more thinking 20.
Oh, okay.
It gets, I don't need 50s,
to be 40s, that's about natural for them, too.
Yeah. 4 degrees is bad for the Eagles, too.
Yeah, Hurts didn't like playing in Chicago. Remember he said how cold it was?
300-plus yards between 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, but he
He didn't enjoy it.
He didn't enjoy it.
I don't care if he enjoys it. That's win the football game, boys.
28 degrees. It's now below freezing, but still where you can put a coat on and be fine.
Okay, you can sell me this.
We can't. You're the last person we listen to about weather.
Seriously, would you want to go up to like Wisconsin and play a football game
No,
in the middle of January?
That's my point. Is that's what the 49ers are going to have to
But
experience.
in this case, the Eagles also don't want to play in that cold of conditions.
Niners beat the Packers last year in Lambeau, right? Playoff
Yeah, but
game?
look at the game. Wasn't it like 10-9 or something?
Yeah, a
Special
cold game like that.
teams.
You'd think, oh, it's a disadvantage for San Fran. It's a disadvantage for everybody.
And for everybody, for humans.
Well, I believe in my
But
quarterback a
28
little more than you guys do, apparently.
It's not that.
What is he being a jerk for today?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Well, what do you mean?
You went to the jerk store?
Well,
and you bought a little bit of you? What's going on?
It's all about that issue from yesterday. We messed with his board, and he gets upset.
Dylan messed with his board.
It wasn't even us.
Wasn't even us. I'm sitting here trying to moderate a show.
Oh.
All right? Trying to keep the train on the tracks. We have a confident group, the city. Everywhere I go, people are feeling good. My brother-in-law used to go, I don't know why, but I think the Eagles can win easy. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win easy. I'm just saying they're going to win. I'm confident they're going to win. Easy will be determined by Purdy. If Purdy's bad, it's easy. If Purdy's average, it's semi-close. If he's great, they lose by 7. Purdy will determine how easy the Eagles' victory will be. Because I have to give the kid some credit. He hasn't blinked so far.
We've gone from pulling them out of icy water from last week, and now we got to kind of bring the kite down a little bit. Bring the kite down just a little bit. We'll be all right.
Because I don't want to disrespect the opponent.
No, I think that's fair. And Jalen Hurts last year, we knew he had limitations, and Todd Bowles exposed that. So I asked the question, can Jonathan Gannon expose the flaws of Purdy? Because there are, I agree with you. I think the talent's there to do it, and I think they're going to do it, and that's the difference maker right there is what they do with Purdy.
I really believe it could be as simple as those first 3 downs. If you're in the backfield all over him, I don't care if you're running plays and they stop the running plays and it's a 3 and out, but if you're in his face for 3 plays, even if you don't get to him, if you're in his face for 3 plays, that's going to change his whole mindset going out there, knowing that, you know what, these are scripted plays and these guys are still in my backfield.
I just also, when you look at the defensive lines and the trenches and all that, there's a lot of talk about what the 49ers have. And to your point, I am respecting them, but they haven't gone up against Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It is a different beast, and I think that goes a long way.
And especially if the Eagles score after that. If he gets people around him, and then they punt, and the Eagles punt right back, it's still 0-0, he's still comfortable. And that's where Seattle had a big opportunity up in the game, driving in the red zone when Geno had that big fumble, and that changed the whole game. If Seattle scores that touchdown in that game, then because Purdy had been shaky, then instead they get the fumble, the crowd gets into the game, and now there's easy throws for Purdy just down 1 point. When had they gone up 8 or 9, if they went for 2 and they had done a lot of that crazy stuff out in Seattle to make the playoffs, I think that could have changed the entire complexion of the playoffs, and Seattle would have pulled off the upset. But comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, I don't know what he was coming back from, came up short in the biggest moment. DJ in New Jersey, as we go back to the phones, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, DJ.
Hey, how you guys doing today? Nice talking to you.
Thanks for calling.
First off, I appreciate you putting me on that, was it Chuck Mangione?
It's good, right?
Oh, dude. Well, I've been rocking out to it for about 2 weeks now.
It's fantastic.
But, you talk about confidence and you talk about cameo with that cut, man. I was dying laughing. That's confidence there, man. You got to have it.
You got to have it to walk around like that. He did that for years.
Major confidence, major. But, I was playing this little game with myself. What is the Eagles' weakness on offense? Like if you're a defensive coordinator, and I know, we've tried to talk about it before, but what really is the weak point on the offensive side of the ball?
Third wide receiver?
Slot receiver.
I'm just,
but you have such a good tight end.
From the starters, it would be a slot receiver.
Yeah, I guess.
Quez, I guess.
Yeah, they don't have a true slot guy. And then there have been times, limited times this year, where Sanders has had some ball security issues, but they haven't shown up that much this year. Outside of that, they're not a lot.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're really good.
What did you come up with, DJ?
I couldn't really come up with anything, And it's funny that you brought up the third wide receiver. Quez had a few big games for us.
He did.
And I think, just hearing you guys talking about, there's an opportunity to go deep. I've already put my money down on Quez hitting us 1 for 40, to be honest, man. Getting in the end zone. Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about their safeties. It's funny you say that. But in the Athletic today, they were talking about something with their safety position also. And there's one of their all-pro safeties apparently he's only that because he comes forward and makes plays in the run game. He's also vulnerable because in the slot sometimes you'll have the safety playing, or in all spots, playing over the top. Thanks for the call, DJ. Apparently, he has bad eye discipline. And with RPOs, that requires great discipline. He gets sucked in, and the Eagles are going to get a big hitter. Now, I don't know if it's going to be Quez because last week he didn't get a lot of snaps. They went pass score instead because of the physicality. You may want to be physical against San Fran as well. That would limit how many snaps Quez really gets to play. So it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I always thought with Quez, too, it wasn't going to be something so dominant, but he's just someone who, if you fall asleep for half a second, clearly has the speed to do something. So even if he does play limited snaps, it just takes that one play where someone accidentally with the eye discipline goes the wrong way, and there's the home run hit.
And the other part is I don't think their defensive line is that lethal. 44 sacks is a cute little 10th in the league number. The Eagles had 70. Like, I don't know why I'm supposed to be so afraid of them. I'm not saying they're not good, and Bosa might win Defensive Player of the Year. But if I have a team with 70 sacks, okay, a couple came from corners and safeties line, but most of them is from the line. I got 4 guys with 11 or more. And then I'm going to be worried about a team that had 44 when I had the best offensive line. I can't worry about it but so much.
And I'll add to that because right now we're talking about being able to beat them in the passing game. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of coverage sacks that happens too. And when you look at the Eagles' ability in the secondary, especially if you get Avonte Maddox back, that adds to not only the lethal weapons you have that are that are rushing the passer, but I also think that tells us a lot about the secondary and some of these corners compared to the 49ers, which we're looking at as an advantage to the Eagles.
Yeah. So, yeah. The defensive line is going to do what they do. They're good players. I'm not saying the Eagles are just going to wash them, but I just don't think it's going to be something that Hurts hasn't seen before. While I think the Eagles' defensive line will provide pressure that Purdy hasn't seen before, if that makes sense. I think that Hurts has been pressured before. It won't be like, oh, my goodness.
He's not going to panic.
Yeah,
he's in a different situation.
The Giants blitz more than anyone. They played him 3 times this year.
That's what I mean. I'm saying I think it's not even so much the panic. I just think he's going to be like, I don't think San Fran's going to apply things to him that he hasn't seen. So I think it's just going to be, okay, I've been up against this before. I think Purdy's going to be, it's going to be a nightmare because I think he's going to see stuff he's never seen in his life before. And I just don't think. And I don't think Hurts is going to see that.
I also heard McManus and Sal Pal do a hit yesterday, and they were talking about attacking Nick Bosa and running at him. And there's
he's not good against the run.
Yeah, there's some stats saying you can definitely target.
How great would that be? Come right in the game and punch him right in the face right away.
They said he was something like the 120th best defensive end against the run. It was like some ridiculous number. So, I mean, pass rushers don't like that's where Brandon Graham kind of was always an outlier. He was always stout against the run. He was always an outlier in that way. A lot of guys who rush the passer don't want to do a whole lot of run tackling.
That's how they took away Micah Parsons in the first Cowboys game.
Right.
They go right at him.
No, well, they left him alone in the first game.
Let him react.
Yeah. Stacy and Wayne, as we go back to the phones, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, Stacy.
Hey, how you doing, fellas?
How are you?
I am doing swell. I got another beat today. Eagles pep rally. Hey, now.
Nice.
You're turning up.
Yep. I'm tearing it up. And so are those Eagles. I am excited. I say the first time we get the ball, I want the ball for the flip because I want to ram it down San Francisco's throat, up 14-0, and then don't look back. It's a done deal. San Francisco can't catch up.
So, Stacy, Would you if you force a 3-and-out yourself and then you get the ball and then go up 7-0 that way? Isn't that one better knowing you'll get it in the second half?
No, because it's not going to be necessary, right? They got to match you touchdown for touchdown. If you force the 3-and-out the first time they get the ball, then you're up 14-0. Then they're just chasing points, right?
Well, yes. If they're definitely going to score, Stacey, you're right.
Yeah.
But since
Yeah.
we can't go into a game against a good defense and guarantee, because what happens if it's just 3? Because they could drive down and get stalled because we have to give the 49ers some credit. They're good, and it's just 3-0. I think I would rather, if they win the toss, defer like they've done all year. Everything else you're saying, I'm with you. I just think that fans individually want the ball first because we don't like delayed gratification. But I think strategically, we don't. We don't want to wait for the team to have the ball. We want it right now. But if you can just,
I don't want red. I don't want red zone. I don't want red zone 25 down. I want them San Francisco in a 30 situation. Double up AJ and then Devonta sneaks in, or even over the
Right.
in the middle. Right. That's
Seems like
what I want.
I'm in a dream right now
Right,
with
it sa-
everything you're laying
it
out.
sounds great, Stacey. And I'm loving the confidence. I'm loving everything. I'm just saying strategically, if you can force a 3-and-out, one, you'll get better field position the first time you touch the ball. Assuming you touch your defense. Thanks for the call. What I'm saying is if you kick to them, you force a 3-and-out, now maybe you start at your own 35 instead of your own 25. You go down, get 10-0. Then at the end of the half, you're looking at the clock that you force Brock Purdy and them into another punt. You get the ball. You go, if we get a field goal right before the half, we'll get the ball right back. And now Eagles could be up 14-7, then 17-7, 24-7, and they haven't touched the ball.
I don't think there's any doubt that if you win the toss, you kick off.
I think
I'm adding this to my list of things I love to hear. Kyle Schwarber shouldn't lead off. Joel Embiid needs to be in the post more. And I want the ball first. Why do we do this?
Because of the delayed gratification. We want the ball now.
Yeah, go down and make it 7-0.
How about this? Let's make it easy. Eagles kick the ball off, fumble on the kickoff. You get the ball at like the 4-yard line.
There you go.
How's that?
How about that? We'd love it.